Welcome to another episode of Football Scientific with me, Aaron Sauter, and Timmy, the trash-talking tiger shark. Today, we are going to go through what I call Transaction-palooza for the NFL, UFL, and CFL. Also, we'll talk about some details of the UFL labor situation that could lead to a strike, which could cripple and destroy the UFL forever. Okay, but before that, I was going to go to my NAL Week 1 predictions today, but I'm not feeling well. I feel pretty sick. Okay, I feel pretty sick. So I'm going to take a day. I'm going to go through the crazy day of transactions in the NFL, UFL, and CFL. I'm going to go through that and my commentary about those transactions. Okay, then after the video, I'm going to go and write an article on UFL News Hub about the Brahmas re-signing running back Anthony McFarland and about the Hamilton Tiger-Cats releasing 3 players, 2 of which were recent draft picks. One was a draft pick from last year, and one was a global draft pick from 2 years ago. I'll be mentioning those today in Transaction-palooza, but I'm going to write those articles. You can find those articles on UFL News Hub, CFL News Hub, and my Substack for Football Scientific. Also, Mike Mitchell of UFL News Hub has written an article about the inner strife of the labor strike in the UFL. And I read the article earlier today. It's pretty good. He has some insider information. If you want more information about that, I'll mention it tonight. But you can always read that article too. Check out UFL News Hub, CFL News Hub. If I get some readers, I may get a bonus. They mentioned a bonus today. Maybe I'll get a bonus. Okay. So I'm putting aside the NAL predictions for a night. Boop. I hope we will be feeling better tomorrow evening, and I'll go through those predictions for the first week of NAL games. Okay. So with that in mind, I'm going to go through Transaction-palooza, and in the middle I'll talk about the UFL labor situation. So first, the NFL. This morning, the Las Vegas Raiders signed offensive guard Alex Cappa. Yes, the same Alex Cappa the Bengals released just a few days ago to free up cap space. Now, my initial thought was, why did the Raiders want to sign Alex Cappa? But then I did the math. Alex Cappa won a Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in 2021. Who was the quarterback of that team? Tom Brady. Who's partial owner of the Raiders? Tom Brady. Tom Brady's signing his guy because he's available. He wants to pick him up. Alex Cappa, not a great lineman. PFF has him at 39.1% as a grade. Sounds like a Raider move. Raiders like to make bad moves, and that's horrible. Good job, Raiders. I'm glad the Bengals didn't extend it. Feels like the Bengals should have extended it. That's their thought process. Next. The LA Chargers released defensive end Joey Bosa. 9 years ago, Joey Bosa was drafted in the first round by the San Diego Chargers. Now they're called the LA Chargers. It's been so long, they're not even called the same city. Joey Bosa came out and turned up on the league. Sacks for days. Sacks for days. His career sacks are 72 sacks. He has 343 tackles. So why are they releasing him? If he's that awesome, 72 sacks, 343 tackles for his career, why are they releasing him? Oh, well, here's why. Because in the last 3 seasons, he's had 52 tackles and 14 sacks. So if you do the math, majority of his tackles and sacks were in his first 6 years playing, and now he is dipped. Boo! He is descended. Boo! To the bottom. Boo! And since the Chargers are not going to win a Super Bowl today, this year, this decade, they cut him. They said, get out of here, Joey Bosa. I believe the San Francisco 49ers, who thought about their trade with Deebo Samuel going to the Commanders, they thought, wait, we could have traded for Jonathan Allen since they're going to give him away. The Commanders are giving away Jonathan Allen if no one trades with him. Why would you trade with him? Just let him release him and pick him up for a cheap price. But the Niners thought for a moment, wait, we should have traded for him instead of a 5th-round draft pick. Oh well. I think they'll sign Joey Bosa because they think he's got something in the tank. Also, because the Niners recently have made a lot of decisions about economical players. They had a finish it right now moment. They went for it and they lost a couple Super Bowls. So their moment's over. So they're rebuilding. They're rebuilding now. They're getting rid of the descending players and keeping the ascending players and rebuilding their team. That's what you should look out for this year. Next. That's it. First page. Next, the Chicago Bears reached an agreement today to extend the contract of defensive end Daniel Hardy. In 2020, Daniel Hardy was drafted in the 7th-round NFL draft by the Los Angeles Rams. Okay? He played in 6 games for the Rams and had 4 tackles. Turn it up. 3 years. 6 games. 4 tackles. Turning up. Not that great. Last year for the Bears, he played in 17 games. He had 7 solo tackles and 5 assists. That's his career high. That actually is more than his entire career. So they're saying, hey man, we want to reach an agreement to keep you for a few more years. And he said, really? Are you serious? Oh, okay, yes, let's do it. I need a job, and I had my best season here. I mentioned I wasn't feeling well. I'm feeling I gotta calm down. I gotta calm down a little bit because I'm not feeling well. Okay? All right, next, the Washington Commanders. They re-signed the linebacker Bobby Wagner, which is big. They signed to a 1-year contract for $9.5 million. If you max out the contract, $8 million is guaranteed. That $1.5 million is in incentives. Okay? Why? He's played 11 seasons with the Seattle Seahawks, 1 season for Washington Commanders. He came out and threw down for the Commanders last year. He played 20 games for the Commanders, and he had 157 tackles, 2.5 sacks, broke up 4 passes, recovered 3 fumbles, and 1 forced fumble. That's an awesome season for a 12-year veteran. Okay? But they're adding a little bit of insurance. They're just going to have him go for another year. They're going to pay him really well for a linebacker, but then they're going to reevaluate the situation in the season, which is probably a smart thing to do for an older player. The Jacksonville Jaguars keep making moves. They have released Evan Engram. Okay, Evan Engram, receiver for the Jaguars. He had 47 catches left there, 365 yards, and 1 touchdown, but he spent some time being injured. Okay, he had injured a knee, he had injured his shoulder. By releasing him, they're freeing up $5.98 million in cap space, and they need cap space. They need help in Jacksonville. Also, I mentioned yesterday, Jacksonville Jaguars were hoping to release Christian Kirk, but they found a better deal. They traded him. So when they release him, they get nothing for him. But they trade him to the Houston Texans, which is odd to be in the same division. They must not fear him. They get something back. And that's pretty cool. Next, the Cincinnati Bengals back in the news. Yesterday, defensive lineman Sam Hubbard retired. 29 years old, 4-year captain. Retired. That's a big loss for the Bengals defensive line. So they should really value defensive linemen and try to, rebuild that as quickly as possible. No. Defensive end Trey Hendrickson, last year's NFL leader in sacks, has requested permission to seek a trade, and they granted it to him. The Bengals are in teardown mode. They're confused. They're franchise tagging T. Higgins. They said they're not going to trade him. They're not re-signing Jamar Chase. They're letting Trey Hendrickson find another place. I don't know what they're doing. What are the Bengals doing? Timmy, do you know what the Bengals are doing? No, man, they are crazy. They are crazy. I don't know what they're doing. I bet they don't know what they're doing. The Bengals have no plan. No plan. Okay? Next, the Buffalo Bills have released punter Sam Martin. Goodbye, punter. They're going to need another punter. If that's their biggest problem, they're in pretty good shape. You can find another punter. Okay? Houston Texans signed Kurt Heineck for a 1-year contract extension. That's good for him. Good for the Texans. Next, the Atlanta Falcons released cornerback D. Alford. Goodbye, D. Alford. Trying to clear up some space. Everyone's trying to clear up some salary cap space for free agency starting on Wednesday. San Francisco 49ers plan to release defensive tackle Javon Hargrave. And that's why I think they're going to pick up Joey Bosa. Okay, they know they need defensive linemen. So they need defensive linemen, but they're releasing a defensive lineman, Javon Hargrave, on the same day the Chargers release Joey Bosa. What am I thinking? I'm thinking he's going to go to the 49ers. They're making space for him. Next, the Washington Commanders re-signed kicker Zane Gonzalez. Last year he played in 9 games for the Commanders. He was 12 for 15 on field goals. He was perfect on PATs in the postseason and 9 regular season games. That's a good kicker. Yeah, a kicker that's consistent, you should hang on to him. Right, Timmy? Don't show me your tail, Timmy. Come on, Timmy. This is not that kind of show. Okay? Next, the Chicago Bears, once again, have re-signed. They've signed Amen Ogbongbemiga. Amen Ogbongbemiga. I don't know. I can't say it, I guess. He's a linebacker technically, but really he's a special teams playmaker. They signed him to a 2-year contract, $5 million deal for a special teams playmaker. $2.5 million a year for a guy who's going to dominate on special teams. Special teams are important. Hope that guy pays off. If not, the Bears are going to look pretty silly. I think the Bears are going to look silly anyway. Next, Minnesota Vikings have extended defensive back Theo Jackson for 2 years. They're going to give him $12.6 million. That's a pretty good extension for Theo Jackson. Pittsburgh Steelers have decided to release. They're going to release Cole Holcomb. Or, if he agrees to restructure his contract, they will keep him, but they're going to pay him significantly less. So it's interesting to see. Will the Steelers release linebacker Cole Holcomb, or will they restructure his contract and pay him significantly less? He spent most of 2024 injured. I would release him. The Steelers are a pretty good organization, though, so maybe they'll make a different decision. Okay, next, the LA Rams have wide receiver Tutu Atwell. They signed him to a 1-year contract for $10 million. Okay, that's kind of expensive for a receiver for 1 year. Last year, he had 42 catches at 562 yards. I guess he's worth it. That's, $10 million. 562 yards, $10 million. We'll see how it works out for him. I don't really have an opinion on that. Next, the Cleveland Browns, after making one of the worst deals of all time, when they signed Deshaun Watson away from the Houston Texans and paid him all kinds of guaranteed money, he has torn his Achilles. It's been a train wreck. He has legal problems. He makes dumb decisions all the time. He keeps getting injured. They're paying him a record amount of money. They made a good move. They decided to restructure his contract to free up $36 million for his salary cap. That's a pretty good move. Good job, Cleveland. I very rarely give props to Cleveland. That was a good move. Okay? Once again, the Chicago Bears, they're very active today. They have signed Durham Smythe to a 1-year contract. He's a blocking tight end. He's not a receiving tight end, he's just a blocker. Basically an athletic offensive lineman. They're really focusing on building their offensive line up. They think they're ready to go win a Super Bowl. They think they're just an offensive line away from the playoffs. Are they? No. I think they need to fix their defense. I think they need a running back. I think that Caleb Williams needs lots of protection so the O-line works there. But they have a lot to fix. But they're going for it. They think they got it. This is why the Bears are consistently not good. And when they are good, they can't do it 2 years in a row. All right, that's NFL news. Next, we transition to the UFL. And the first thing I saw this morning, UFL makes a bold move. So here's the bold move, okay? We know we have the labor strife going on, the threat of a strike from the players, the quarterbacks being mad about not getting paid enough, the league not having enough money to pay them more. If they pay them more, the league is going to be over. That's my opinion. But it turns out Mike Mitchell, publishing on UFL News Hub, as I do, got some insider knowledge from what he mentioned was a high-ranking UFL official. And they said, hey, we're probably going to concede to the demands of these players so we can get the 2025 season in. But because we do that, there most likely won't be a 2026 or 2027 season. That is crazy. They know if they pay the players more, then that does it. This is the last year. Why would you do that? That doesn't make any sense. Also, it doesn't make any sense because the players are talking about making a strike and talking to media members, not me, but other media members, about going on strike. But now all the players want to go on strike, so they're not even unified. Their union isn't unified. It's already broken. How do you defeat a strike? You break the union. This union's already broken. It's going nowhere. All they're going to do is give up. Now, I mentioned if this was me running the league and I had quarterbacks and players saying, we're going to go on strike because of the nature of the UFL. This is not a career league. You're not playing this league to get paid a lot of money and make a career. You're playing this league to get a chance to go play somewhere else and have a career. So, if I had players complaining, I would have already released them. Hey, early in training camp, we're releasing you all, we'll replace you, we're fine. Now, the UFL actually said this. Okay, so there have been plans leaked by UFL players that the media days the UFL had planned for today and tomorrow, they were going to boycott it. They were going to boycott it and not come to media day, which is petty. They're going to practice. Media days. What is it? They're not going to go to media day. This doesn't make any sense. The UFL leader, Dale Johnson, moves. He said, hey, if they don't come to the thing, the media day, we'll cut them. We'll release them. What do the UFL players respond with? That's Bush League, bro. That's Bush League. You're going to cut us because we don't go to media day? You're going to cut us because we don't meet the requirements of our contract? That's Bush League. No, it's Bush League to not go to media day. It's Bush League to demand more money from a league that doesn't have money to give you. That's Bush League. It's Bush League to go on strike when half the players don't want to go on strike. What's the answer here? Release the players that want to go on strike. But later in the day, the UFL took a step back. It said, well, this is getting crazy, man. We said y'all were going to get released, but what we meant was y'all going to get punished. We're going to fine you. More sensible, but you're backing off already? This is the craziest labor situation I've ever heard of. This is why it's hard for people to get attached to the UFL. I think it's decent football. It's fun to watch. It's fun to follow. It's fun to cover. But this organization doesn't make any sense. It's nearly as bad as AF1, which is disgustingly bad. That league may not even play any games. Everyone may go out of business. Some teams aren't even selling season game tickets. And they play it again next week. How's that possible? Unfortunately, the UFL is looking more like AF1 than anything else. It's definitely not the CFL. That's rock solid. It's definitely not the NFL. That's not even a comparison. The IFL seems more stable than the UFL right now. They're partnered together. But I think if I wanted to play somewhere for a long time, I'd play in the IFL. Am I going to get paid a lot? No, because they understand their product. They understand their fan base. They're not going to make loads of money. They're giving you a chance to play up somewhere. NFL, CFL. A lot of guys go from IFL to CFL. A lot of guys go from IFL to UFL. If you're in the UFL, you're trying to go to the NFL. That's your payoff. Okay? All right. So the labor situation, still hard to figure out. They're still in training camp, though. They're still practicing. Why would you practice if you're going to go on strike? I don't know. This is the most confusing situation I've ever seen with a sports league. None of this makes sense. The players don't have money because there's not that many fans of games. Because you're not very good. You skip the workout to become better, to get more people to the game so you can get paid more. You ask for more money, but then you don't want to do the media day, which is the simplest part of your job. I don't know. That's confusing. But let's assume they're going to play this season, and maybe they'll have future years. This is funny, all the UFL fans I see on social media. All they talk about is we need to expand. We need a Seattle Sea Dragons back. We need a New Orleans Breakers back. Oh, well, first of all, when you add those teams back, you're going to water down the league. So the league's going to be less good because you're going to water down, you're going to bring in more players that don't deserve to play in professional football. Okay? Next, you're going to have more teams with more players that want to get paid more. Also, it's going to be harder to do a hub city like you're doing, so we're going to have to pay for a lot more travel. That all sounds dumb. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't put myself in the hole. Enough complaining about the UFL. I hope they work this out, okay? The Birmingham Stallions. They had Jamar Smith retire on Sunday. Okay? Well, they finally got a third quarterback. They signed quarterback Case Cookus to be their third string quarterback. He was a quarterback at Memphis last year. He played 9 games for the Showboats. He completed 99 out of 161 passes, 61.5%, 989 yards, 7 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He was sacked 20 times. I went and saw the game where he played against Birmingham. I thought they were going to kill him. He has no pocket awareness. He takes the hardest hits I've ever seen. And I've seen a lot of football, college and high school and youth ball, and he took the hardest hits I've ever seen a player take. Why doesn't he have any pocket presence or know how to evade anything? Well, luckily for him, he's going to the Stallions to be their third string quarterback. I bet he's hoping he doesn't get to play, he gets paid, but at least he doesn't have to get mauled by the Stallions' defensive line. I was thinking about his stats, and I thought about last year, thought maybe this guy, is he that good? Well, he's consistent. Like I said, completed 61.5% of his passes. When he played in the USFL, which a bunch of people who are USFL bootlickers, they said, boom, Case Cookus is the best quarterback in the league. Over 2 years with the Philadelphia Stars, he completed 62.7% of his passes, about the same as 61.5%. He threw for 3,629 yards for 27 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. He took 39 sacks. 39 sacks, he doesn't have any pocket presence. Dude's going to get hurt. But he threw way less interceptions. So maybe he had better receivers. Maybe the rush wasn't as good. It's so difficult comparing league to league. Next, the St. Louis Battlehawks. I mentioned yesterday in the CFL, the Toronto Argonauts, 2 days ago, signed American offensive tackle Ryan Cole. Yesterday, 1 day later, they released Ryan Cole. I mentioned that was weird, and I thought Ryan Cole would get signed by somebody, and he did. He got signed by the St. Louis Battlehawks. So he's going to make American money, which is probably, it's worth more than Canadian money. Okay? They also have signed wide receiver Gary Jennings. He played for the Stallions in 2024. He had a whopping 2 catches and 20 yards. Yikes. He also played for St. Louis in the XFL. He played in 8 games, had 11 catches, 449 yards, and that's better. So maybe he's a good mix for the St. Louis Battlehawks. Maybe they see how to use him. I've heard they're going to use him on special teams because one of the receivers is gone, and they're going to use him on special teams. That could be good. The DC Defenders, they make a big move. They released the lineman earlier this week because he didn't practice very well, formerly from the Baltimore Ravens, but they picked up DJ Fluker. Now, the problem I see with DJ Fluker is that he was drafted in 2013 by the San Diego Chargers, okay? They were still the San Diego Chargers. He's old. He's real old. He played for the Chargers in 2013, 2016. During 2013, he was the PFWA NFL All-Rookie team. He had a good first year. Okay, 2017 played for the Giants. Then he moved to the Seahawks, 2018, 2020. And then he bounced around. All right, so DJ Fluker looks good on paper. Dude is massive, lots of NFL experience, doing great. But if I was able to play in the NFL, I wouldn't play in the UFL, so most likely his skills are diminished. He's been with the Baltimore Ravens for 16 games in 2020. I think he's not going to be a great asset for the Defenders. I think he'll be like the Defenders had last year. They had a hard time protecting their quarterback. I think that'll be more of the same. No offense to DJ Fluker. Boop. Okay. Next. The Houston Roughnecks have signed offensive lineman Zach Banner. Okay? He played offensive tackle. He was drafted in 2017 by the Indianapolis Colts. He had played for the Pittsburgh Steelers 2018-2021. NFL experience. He played in 30 NFL games. He needs a job. He might be a good lineman for the Houston Roughnecks. They need help on their offensive line. They've also decided to release wide receiver Cyril Grayson Jr., who came in. He had a decent career in Seattle with the Seahawks. He appeared on their team for a couple of years. He was with Tampa Bay for 3 years. What's he done? He played for the Philadelphia Stars USFL. I don't know. It's probably a good idea to release him. Seems like dead weight. They also released an offensive lineman, Sage Young. Never heard of him. See ya. Never will heard of him. Okay. The Arlington Renegades. They picked up a linebacker yesterday. Today they signed defensive back Mekhi Garner, who played in 2023 for the Philadelphia Eagles. Played in 3 games, 0 tackles. He played at LSU in 2022, 42 tackles. Doesn't seem like a world beater, but he did play at LSU and he did play for the Eagles for a short time, a little bit. So maybe he has some potential to play for the Renegades. I hope not. I hope Mekhi Garner doesn't make an impact because the Brahmas play the Renegades to open the season and they need to win that game. Okay? Boom! UFL. The Michigan Panthers have acquired defensive back Tyree Gillespie. Okay? Picked up Tyree Gillespie. He had some experience with the Kansas City Chiefs, the Houston Texans, the Raiders, the Titans, the Jacksonville Jaguars. Like a lot of these players, he's bounced around a lot. Okay? So, they got him. He's with the Panthers. He's a defensive back. Their defensive backfield is weak, so maybe he can step into a role and help them out. He played at Missouri from 2017-2020. He played in 40 games. Had 102 solo tackles, 44 assists, 2.0 sacks. Sounds like a run stopper, cornerback. Probably going to be a field side cornerback. Okay, so we'll see how he fits in. See if he makes the team. All right. Boo! Big news for me. The San Antonio Brahmas. I mentioned yesterday, they released Hassan Hall, running back Hassan Hall, because he just didn't report to camp where he left for personal reasons. But that opened the door for a huge re-signing. They re-signed Anthony McFarland Jr., who was a huge piece of the Brahmas making a run to the UFL championship, especially in the playoffs. Okay? During the season, he only played in 5 games for the Brahmas, had 47 carries, 192 yards, 1 touchdown. In the playoffs, 2 games in the playoffs, he played in 2 games, had 20 carries, 147 yards, 1 touchdown, and he caught 7 passes, 42 yards. That's really good. And he helped power the Brahmas to the UFL championship game. He was originally drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2020. His first year, he was being used. After that, he dwindled. Boop. He got a chance to show up for the Brahmas, which he did, second half of the season in the playoffs, and that earned him a chance to be in the Dolphins practice squad. But he's back. Boom. That helps rebuild the running back room for the Brahmas. And last year they had to run the ball a lot because the quarterback wasn't very good, and they had a strong defense. They're still going to have the best defense in the league. A strong running game will help with that. He can catch out of the backfield. A.J. Smith likes to throw quick screens to the running backs. Okay, so that's a good pickup for the Brahmas. I'll be writing about that on the UFL News Hub tonight and on my Substack. Check it out. Okay, last but not least, we have the CFL transactions. Okay, so the Ottawa Red Blacks have signed American wide receiver Sam Schnee. In 2024, he spent time with Tennessee Titans. He's from Northern Iowa. We'll see what he does. Hopefully he does nothing. Boo Red Blacks. Boo Red Blacks. They have also released American defensive back Rodarius Gadigan. Goodbye, Rodarius. Goodbye. Okay, the Edmonton Elks have signed American defensive back Shalane Garnes. Looks good. Don't have a lot to add to that. They've been adding a lot of defensive linemen, so maybe they need some defensive back play. If you wanted to win in the CFL, you got to have good defensive line, good offensive line. You need to make sure you can run the ball, and you got to make sure you can defend the pass. Hell, getting a DB helps a lot. Okay? All right. BC Lions, they signed wide receiver Bailey Gaither. Okay? Bailey Gaither played from 2022, 2023, and the USFL for Pittsburgh or Philadelphia Stars. Had 58 catches, 209 yards, 5 touchdowns. That's pretty good. He spent time with the Baltimore Ravens. He has potential. BC Lions are looking to bring weapons in for Nathan York to try and rebuild that offense. They lost a lot of pieces. We'll see what they do. Saskatchewan Roughriders. Boo, Saskatchewan. They signed American wide receiver Ty James. He had been an undrafted free agent for the Minnesota Vikings. That's pretty much his pro experience. He comes from Mercer University, which is just a state south of us. He played in 45 games for Mercer, had 171 catches, 3,364 yards, and 30 touchdowns. He was a standout in the Southern Conference. Let's see if we can translate it to the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Boo Roughriders. Last but not least, the Hamilton Tiger Cats are clearing house. They have released 3 players. First, they released national defensive back, which means he's a Canadian. That's what national means. Jonathan Gastini. They had drafted him in the 6th round of the 2024 CFL draft. They re-signed him. They signed him, brought him in early in the offseason. He's gone now. They released him. He's never played in a game. They released global linebacker. Global means he was picked in the global draft. I believe in 2023 he was their top pick in the global draft. He played at Hawaii, okay, from Samoa. That's why he's global. In 2023, he played 17 games and had 4 tackles. But in 2024, he only played 1 game and had 0 tackles. He's ascending, dropping. See ya. Okay, they released American wide receiver Desmond Patton. Last year, Desmond Patton had a good camp. He had a good camp, had good preseason games. Woo! Lost the headphones again. He had a good preseason with the Tiger Cats. But, he didn't do anything in the season. So why pay a guy you're not going to play? See you, Desmond Patton. Desmond Patton. Okay? Also, from the Tiger Cats, they're really late on announcing signings. I had covered a signing they made with Philip Asai, defensive end Philip Asai. I wrote an article about that last week on CFL News Hub and Substack. Check it out. They just announced that they had signed him a week later. They're very delayed on their signings. Okay, so that's Transaction-palooza. Okay, tomorrow I'll be back, hopefully feeling better, and I'll go to my NAL Week 1 predictions. I will also talk about transactions in the NFL, UFL, and CFL. I don't talk about the indoor football league right now and the NAL because they're too unstable. It would take the whole show. Okay? I'm trying to keep this under 40 minutes. Hopefully I'll keep my headphones on. Boop. These are expensive headphones. That's why I freak out when they fall off my head. I recently got a haircut, and my head is a lot smaller than it was before, and they want to slip off. Boop. But they're pretty fancy, and I don't want them to break. So I'm trying to take good care of them. That's a good lesson for the kids. Take good care of your stuff. People buy you things, you buy your things, take care of your things. That's a good life lesson. Okay? I'm going to go and rest and try to recover. I'm going to write 2 articles. One on the CFL News Hub about the players they released. And then I'm going to write about Anthony McFarland Jr. returning to the San Antonio Brahmas on UFL News Hub. And then I'm going to go and take a hot shower and relax because I feel quite poorly. I feel sick. Thanks for joining us on Football Scientific. It was a rough show. Hope it wasn't too rough. See you later, Timmy. Boop. I'll be back tomorrow to talk about my NAL Week 1 predictions, plus more, I'm sure. Thanks for joining us on Football Scientific. Make sure you subscribe to the video, or to the channel. Make sure you like the video. I'm out of whack. I'm not feeling well. Make sure you check out my articles on CFL News Hub, UFL News Hub, and my Substack. And really think about digesting more information with us here at Football Scientific. I'm hoping tomorrow I'll feel better and I can have a more clean show. Thanks for joining us, and thank you for your patronage, for watching the videos. I appreciate that. Have a wonderful night. Bye-bye.